Right, so it's no secret to anyone at this point that episode 7 of the Amazing Digital Circus is going to be a little bit intense. The whole system seems to be falling apart at the seams here, Kane is glitching out like crazy, and our characters are right on the verge of collapse. That means that this episode is going to need a relatively fast pace to get through everything, potentially making it somewhat confusing. In this case, having a little bit of knowledge about what will happen before the episode starts is good for viewing, and that is where I intend to come in. I have taken every piece of information we have about this episode from Glitch and a few things from Gooseworks herself and slowed them down, turned up the brightness and zoomed into all of the details. So here are the teasers for Digital Circus episode 7, frame by frame. Let's start out with some basic facts, making use of the first 2 teaser images and the first video trailer. While it won't stay there for very long, this episode starts out at the beach. Kane is not actually present to run this adventure, likely because he's still upset over the whole awards show debacle, but he has left a changing room device here that gives all of the characters beach outfits. Jax forgoes this, choosing to moat by himself under an umbrella off in the corner because he is choosing to no longer associate with Pomni. Most of the characters are having a good time, swimming, playing games, and lounging in the sun until one of 2 events occur. Now we get into the first theory. The first possible event is the appearance of this exit door. These doors have not been seen since the pilot and were originally an almost endless loop of rooms that led into the void. It is possible that Kane has changed them since that point, but there is no evidence for that. The second event may be one of the characters spotting this mysterious figure that has been appearing in several scenes since episode 3. He's been watching the characters the whole time without being noticed. In the main trailer, he is referred to simply as Mysterious Voice, one which appears distinct from all of the other characters seen in the series so far. There doesn't appear to be any other character that could be associated with this voice, so my assumption is it's him. As of writing this script, there are 2 other teaser images publicly available. The first being Pomni standing in front of a large hall lined with odd trophies that leads to Kane's office, and the second being an area that Ragatha and Pomni end up in by themselves later. We will return to both of these areas when they appear in the trailer properly, which we will get into now. The trailer follows a looping format of Kane announcing over the top of footage that slowly becomes more and more corrupted. This opening segment where everything looks normal is reused from the glitch direct up until the first glitch. Within the glitching, there can be seen the clear image of a person with either very heavy makeup or a face mask on in a style entirely different to what we've seen so far from this show. It appears to resemble the style of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, Gooseworks' inspiration for the show, rather than the show itself. The character may potentially be found outside the circus, which we do know is a place that can exist in this series thanks to the pilot. The next scene brings us back to the circus bedroom gallery, though not as we know it. The paintings here are noticeably shifted and none of the character portraits are in place. Instead, NPC placeholders are used here on all visible doors. Our mysterious figure appears again in much the same manner as the abstracted Kaufmo did in the very first trailer this series ever got, back in, oh lord, January 2023. Moving on to the next glitch, and it will become apparent soon that the majority of these glitch effects are made up of the characters. For example, here we can see repeating Jax faces in this pink strip down the middle, as well as Jax and Pomni eyes in the bottom corner. We loop again, but this time missing out on my Goat Kinger, an incredible act of sacrilege I will atone for by placing him up here for the next 5.7 seconds. Our next glitch effect is several hundred Jax heads meshed on top of each other, leading into our first look inside his bedroom. A very frightened rabbit has either just heard something to wake him up or is woken up by a nightmare. The second being more likely due to the not so subtle placement of a photo of himself, Kaufmo, and Ribbit up on his wall. This scene may also be our opening to the episode, as it would make very little sense for Jax to go and take a snooze in the middle of an episode, and the characters appear to be transported into wildly different places by the messed up AI. We've also seen this dream sequence type event occur before in episode 2. The Jax images return for the next glitch and are cut through by some extreme close-up shots of the same image focusing on his eyes. We then get another, even shorter loop. Super close-up Jack's eyes appear again, along with what looks to be Pomni and some regular red, blue, and green pixel glitches that may be a character but are too small for me to identify. The next regular shot is Kane's office, containing what many believe to be a form of symbolism for himself and Abel, those being the 2 different large stars on either of the doors. Kane is represented on the red side along with Bubble as the smaller star. His side of the door also has this moon on it, making it more distinct from Abel's side. This may reference how there might be a real person Kane who is unconscious while his AI runs in the circus. It may suggest that his AI is in sleep mode or not functioning properly, or it may just mean nothing whatsoever. Option 4 is also available. The next glitches contain another one of Pomni's faces and a close-up of another Jack's eyeball. We loop again, but it doesn't even make it past the first shot anymore. Jax, Pomni, and potentially Gangle are featured in this next glitch, though once again it's mostly Jax's face. Near the end of it though, we get a remarkably complete image of Pomni's body down near the bottom half of the frame. We cut to our mysterious figure looking onto the beach. This is where option 2 for the first twist of the story I mentioned a few minutes ago comes in, as he isn't exactly doing a great job at hiding himself. The next glitch is more Jax, but this time with the silhouette of Kane in the background leaping up and making a dramatic gesture with his arms. It appears as though he's spreading them out to either reveal something or influence a wide area. Loop again, this time with Jax sitting with his legs tucked to his chest and back turned to the camera. His ears are drooping down over his face, but he is looking back at the camera, and I believe there is some sort of almost demonic or psychopathic smile across his face. Zubul is then seen for the first time since the very start of the trailer, lying with her eyes screwed shut and surrounded by what appears to be more parts of her. They may be back in their own room here, or just got dismembered by something. The room appears to be more likely though, as this crack of light is consistent with the opening of a door. Concerning Jax glitches in again before we get to Pomni and Ragatha in the space that they were seen in the most recent teaser image I have. Note the structure and pattern on the bridges are the same. Ragatha, however, seems unlike herself, staring wide-eyed at Pomni with no expression on her face. Both then turn to see something off screen, but while Pomni is very animated, Ragatha seems fairly mute. Jax glitches back in for a third time before the regular trailer intro is replaced by the door image we've seen already. The next glitch reused a lot of parts of another glitch we've seen earlier. The back half of that glitch terrified me for a second because I thought this was a face and it will be giving me nightmares tonight. Thankfully for all of us though, it is just a bucket of keys. These are Jax's keys to all the different rooms throughout the circus that he's commandeered over the years. Strangely though, they aren't in his room, instead being placed on the checkered floor of the inside of the tent. We glitch into a Pomni and several copies of Jax next before looping to the door, back to the area with Ragatha and Pomni. Neither of them are present in this frame and the eyes are in different locations. The sphere up here is also distorted like there's been a disturbance in the liquid, which may be what they turned to look at in the last shot we saw them together. There is then a tiny golden hand being held between the fingers of Kinga, the only one we know who is seen using these white gloves. What this hand is or its significance we are not shown, but this location appears different from the other one we see Kinga in later, potentially being in the tent near the beginning of the episode. Glitch through many Jaxes to the door again, and through more Jaxes to Kinga instructing Pomni to go press one of two coloured buttons. It is this decision here that is what most believe to be the one that will split the fandom, as referenced by Goose and Michael in separate interviews. Pomni's choice here will either be something that you agree or disagree with, and it will likely have a major consequence on the outcome of the series. This is also probably near the end of the episode along with the Ragatha encounter, but which one comes first remains to be seen. My personal belief though is that Pomni makes a decision first and tells Ragatha what she did, which results in this face. No glitch here as we go straight to this globe showing a scene of a little cottage in the snowy mountains that is tucked away in a wooden cabinet or locker. This may belong to Jax and might reveal something about his past that he wants to keep secret. It may also be an artifact of Kane's found inside his office with some special properties. The next glitch contains an image that is either a few frames before or after the last image with Pomni and Kinga. We can see the bright buttons here and a cut apart jester face. Loop again and an even more distorted version of the glitch we've seen twice before. Kane then appears at a restaurant that appears furnished in a similar way to the one he and Bubble were in during the pilots. Kane also has the same blue screening eyes we saw during Pomni's original tour of the grounds. Two reoccurring things here in our next frame, those being our mysterious stranger, now with a Sharpie drawn smiley face on, and the sphere that Pomni and Ragatha were staring at. These three things together actually paint a pretty clear picture. Pomni is explaining something likely quite tragic to Ragatha while they're alone in this area, only for the sphere to start warping and then turn to see the guy coming out of it. Another glitch with Kane and Jax spliced together, as well as a reappearance of Pomni here that was also present in a previous glitch. Psycho Jax returns again and we get a close-up of his bedroom door starting to open. This likely follows a shot of him lying in bed and may be a part of what caused him to wake up. Psycho Jax one more time before Ragatha appears again. She is once again looking shocked at something, though this time with more emotion on her face, and she seems slightly scared. There are also two sets of objects behind her that seem similar to what is shown in the lead up to Kane's office, but they definitely aren't the same ones. This would then make this scene likely from inside the office itself, a very grand space that Kane would definitely see fit for himself. Even more distorted Pomni from the same glitch as before, and then finally two doors. One simple, leading out to a room full of lights which we can guess represents the outside of the circus, and another filled with ornate glass that leads back into the same office-style rooms the original exit door had. Will the characters actually get to the proper door out this episode? I would say highly unlikely, but you never know. We then cut to black and our mysterious voice decides now is a good time to pipe up and say he thinks he's found a way to leave. So, there is every single distinct frame of the Amazing Digital Circus episode 7 teasers. Now, let's talk about what it means. The glitches almost all being amalgamations of Jax and Pomni's faces suggest that their interactions in episode 6, specifically Jax's response to that interaction, is what causes everything to go off the rails here. Jax is clearly not doing well mentally. He has constant reminders of his lost companions in his face as he falls asleep and wakes back up, something that is not very smart to do if you don't have proper closure with them or believe yourself to be involved in their deaths. He has once again lost the only person willing to be around him, and the rest of the cast seem to actively enjoy his suffering. Gangle and Zubul of course are not entirely wrong for this. Jax has been a colossal asshole to them, so it's only natural to make token events of revenge. The amount of raw emotion and grief Jax is suffering here by himself seems to be weighing on the circus, and its code is struggling to cope. Speaking of code struggling, Kane also seems to have not gone over anything from the last couple of episodes. The day at the beach being so normal and distinctly human as opposed to his own adventures means it probably is another suggestion box idea, and he's gone along with it because he's trying to act like he doesn't care. We of course know this isn't the truth, but the characters do not, and as such probably won't pay him much more heed than they do Jax. This combination of factors, as well as our mysterious NPC character, results in the transport of the cast across different locations that bear no rhyme or reason. Randomly generated assets are stacked without logical thought to create these odd scenes. Our mysterious NPC character is looking more and more likely to be Abel, or at least a version of him at this point. He has either been stuck in the circus since before any of the other characters, thus explaining his lack of an avatar, and has evaded the gaze of Kane and everyone else over these years while he searches for an exit he knows is there because he built this game. The other option is an NPC like Gummy Goo with advanced sentience who falsely believes he is another character and wants to get out of the circus to the body he assumes he has. If he were to find out that he doesn't have one, he may try and take one of the characters' bodies for himself, resulting in some conflict leading into the final episodes. When first transported into the different areas, Ragatha ends up by herself in this room before convincing Kane to put her with Pomni. Pomni and Kinga start together, and Kinga demands that she press a button in order to do something that Kinga knows is important for everyone's well-being. We are in relative darkness here, so he may be able to think properly. It may also involve a form of self-sacrifice, as we don't see him later, and that could result in the expression we get out of Ragatha. The mysterious character then appears again out of the sphere, and tells them he thinks he's found a way out of the circus. Zooble and Gangle don't seem to play a big part in this episode, but they more than likely get transported together, and we will pick back up on them in episode 8. But that's all I've got for today. If you have any ideas on what will happen before we get to find out in 12 hours, then drop them in the comments. Make sure you don't get too angry with the episode. Thank you all for watching, and have a good one.